After witnessing Demetri take down my glorious King Hawk, today I wanted to sit down and talk about Demetri's character over the series and see how he went from the biggest pacifist to now one of the most overconfident students in Miyagi Do. Let's break down his character and see what happened. Now, Demetri's story starts off in season 1 where we see him being okay with settling as a nerd and getting bullied. We see this as he tries to encourage Miguel to give up on karate and say how he signed away the opportunity to get with any girl before college by sitting with him. He sees himself as the nerd, and unlike Miguel and Hawk who want to change this part of himself, he instead accepts who he is and resorts to non-violence. Even after Johnny tried striking some discipline in him, he believes that he'd look stupid for going back and giving him his money, showing just how petty Demetri can be. And after trying to strike first at Yasmin and getting instantly turned down, really just be in the background being the funny character. He would consider joining Cobra Kai after seeing the idea of him being protected by his friends and Miguel winning the All Valley and getting some of the glory. But we see that Hawk, who's been given a major boost in ego, starts to switch up on his best friend in order to embrace his Cobra ways. This leads into Demetri reluctantly wanting to join back only to get punched by Chris and forced to get stitches. He'd then write a bad review on the dojo, leading into Hawk attempting to jump him, and in between this time as well, because of Demetri's nature, he decides to join Miyagi Do, being Daniel's first official customer. He's the first official student of Miyagi Do. As we know, Daniel would get some of the Cobras into his dojo, forcing Demetri and Chris, the guy who was there when Hawk jumped him, to get along and actually form a little friendship. We'd see Demetri slowly learning Miyagi Do, with him learning to anticipate and even doing better than Sam during the lesson. We know this since he pushed Chris back way further than she did. And after this, and finally gaining some strength, all the while still getting bullied by Hawk, his former best friend, Demetri decides to defend himself by embarrassing Hawk in front of the entire school, showing that Demetri knows the real Hawk despite him putting up this act. Demetri has been kinda on the uprise while Hawk is spiraling down, which comes back to kick him in the face in the school fight, with Demetri literally kicking him into a trophy case. Granted, Hawk was injured and cocky during this fight, but I believe this was intentional in order to show just how different these two are now. They started off as the binary brothers, and now Demetri doesn't even know Eli, all he knows is this Hawk character. Demetri shows the viewer a more realistic approach to joining karate and is actually using it for its purpose. He doesn't like causing fights, but now he's not afraid to get into one if he needs to. He's gained the right amount of confidence, whereas his best friend became full-on cocky. And we see this further shown in season 3, where Hawk even goes as far as to break his own arm, as Robby did kick Miguel, and because Demetri is at Miyagi Do, he's on Robby's side, but he never stopped to think that Miguel and Demetri were friends too, and he'd even see Hawk befriend their former bully Kyler. After this, we see Demetri taking a lot more initiation, with him being the one to get Miyagi Fang in one room before the house fight starts. Luckily, Hawk comes in to help him halfway through, allowing the binary brothers to clean up house and be friends again. Demetri would back him up when Tori tries to threaten him, and we see the two side by side going into season 4.
He won't have to. He's got friends there for him.
Now, at this point in time, the All Valley is coming up, which means only the best of the best are really going to be able to get far, and Demetri is still having a hard time believing he's really worthy of being one of Miyagi Do's main representatives. We see him dismissing himself and immediately talking about Miguel or getting Robby back, showing that he does not believe in himself one bit. We see though that Demetri, like probably most of us, is able to give some really good advice but not follow through with it himself, and we see this through his conversation with Eli, who just got done getting his head shaved, and because of this conversation, Eli would come back to Miyagi Do, albeit reluctantly. We see things going his way with Yasmin at prom and would allow Miyagi Do to start off strong in the weapons section of the tournament, and we'd see him do well in the qualifier, showing that when he's not doubting himself, he'd actually be a very good fighter. And we see this most of all in his exchange with Robby, who looks to be a little proud of his former friend, with Demetri being able to block some of Robby's blows and even throw him into the ground. Daniel would say how Demetri did great out there, giving Demetri that final push of assurance that he himself is a capable fighter. In season 5, we see reality hitting him even more by getting a summer job, helping Miguel text Sam because they're having relationship issues, and being the guy to help bring Robby and Hawk together. At this point in the story, Demetri's just kind of in our position. He's done with the stupid karate drama and just wants some peace, and so he'd help them lock in along with using his past nerd skills to help expose Silver. And he'd finally get his get back against Kyler, with him now having the ego boost Miguel and Hawk had after beating their former bully. By this point, bro's got the girl, his best friend back, beat his two biggest bullies, and is known in the valley as one of the best. So what's next for the character? Well, unfortunately in season 6, we get everything that's led up to this now start to get in Demetri's head. The main reason this happens is because he wanted to go to MIT with Eli since they were kids, but as we know, sometimes your path isn't a narrow line, and Hawk tried explaining that to him. In Demetri's head, this seems stupid considering they've worked super hard for Hawk to now go down and be an idiot, and granted, I'd be mad as well if my friend last minute changed dream schools with me, but at the same time, Demetri, I feel naturally should have let this go. But I feel after the past couple of seasons and him believing he's earned his spot as one of the best, he's not going to let this go and instead stands his ground. This even goes as far as Demetri putting Hawk in the same position he did in season 3, saying how does that feel. This shows the shift between Hawk and Demetri's dynamic, with Hawk now being on the more pacifistic side, while Demetri is someone who wants to back up his talk, and so he unfortunately betrays Hawk, almost stealing his spot completely in the tournament. We also see him getting into MIT, which he's not really surprised about.
That's like LeBron getting turned down by the Lakers.
If Demetri already wasn't becoming cocky or arrogant, he now is in his dream school and is competing in the biggest tournament around the world. I think in the next part, we're going to see Demetri go down a similar path to season 2 Hawk, and we're going to be seeing a different side of the character we've never actually seen before. And who knows, he may show off some techniques that may not prove to be the Miyagi way.